I feel everything has tried to knock down the Milwaukee Brewers right from spring training, the injuries and all that, suspensions. But you know what? The Brewers just keep chalking up wins, bouncing back from adversity and being resilient. We'll get to that coming up next and look ahead to the Cubs series. You're on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, the Brewers were handed some suspensions. Didn't have their manager today, but still, they go ahead and win anyway into an off day on Thursday. Good to have you along. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Chuck Freeman, second-year host, Locked On Brewers, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, and various networks and all that, TV as well. And good to have you along. You get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, on all the major downloads. And of course, our growing YouTube page. Please hit us up at YouTube. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. And that'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. I want to thank the World Series Club in Milwaukee for having me as a guest speaker on Wednesday night. It was great. Talk Brewer baseball for a good hour. And a lot of questions. A lot of people are excited about the Milwaukee Brewers, just like everybody else who watches this video, listens to our podcast, and enjoying this Brewer season. The Brewers are 19-11 right now. The resilient Milwaukee Brewers pick up another win, 7-1 over Tampa. You know what? Yeah. Coming after that debacle over the weekend against the Yankees, where they gave 15 runs in each game, and then you had the 1-0 game on Monday. You're thinking, oh man, are the Brewers are in for some sort of slide here? But, they've had 2-3 game losing skids this year, and each time they've bounced back and have just continued to roll on. Behind the pitching staff, 3 good starts here against Tampa. Freddy yesterday. You had Bryce Wilson on Monday. And on Wednesday, Colin Ray gets the job done. Colin Ray just goes out, and yeah, I'm the first one to admit when, I've told you guys, I was not that I wasn't a big Colin Ray fan, but my expectations of him weren't all that high. But he goes out there and continues to churn out victories. 99 pitches, 6 innings of 4-hit baseball. Yeah, had some traffic on base, but 5 Ks, continues to plow through. And where would the Brewers be without this guy in the last year or so? Because coming up here and just made big starts for the Brewers. Kind of flown out of the radar. Not a lot of expectations. Certainly, I haven't had a lot. But the guy has come from being a nobody down at AAA to firmly the number 2 or 3 pitcher on the staff. And they need it. And he's a large reason why they're 19-11 right now, because guys like him have stepped up to the plate and got the job done. And they're going to continue to need that out of Colin Ray. 3-0 on the season, and going out there and continuing to he gave a solid start on Friday night against the Yankees, and the only game they won in the series. Got no decision there, but pitched 6 strong innings in that game. And I gave 3 home runs, but 3 of the 4 hits were homers on his previous start on Friday night. But I thought he battled, man. He battled, and he got some traffic on the base paths again on Wednesday, but he battled through and got the job done and led his team, and the offense, led by Willy Adames with 2 home runs, really picked him up, and Adames continues to swing a hot bat. The suspensions. Yeah, the suspensions and all that, we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But the bottom line is, with our Milwaukee Brewers, they go out and they've had injuries in spring training. Devin Williams, Garrett Mitchell. All right, who's playing third base? We don't know. Who's the starting pitcher each day? Well, half the time we don't even know that. Okay, bullpen. Who's going to close? We don't know that. I don't know what the shelf life on all this guesswork is, but the bottom line is the Brewers just keep going out and getting victories and staying in first place, setting up a showdown this weekend with the Cubs. And I say showdown, somebody might say, well, it's early May. And as I told the World Series Club tonight, To me, every one matters. All 162 matter. I don't know why they don't do it in the NBA. They don't matter for me as much as the 82 wins for the Bucks. But the Brewers, man, we're living and dying with each one of these losses. And yeah, each one does count. In front of that TV set on Friday afternoon, if you're at work, you're finding a way to watch this game. All 3 games of the series. It's going to be nice weather this weekend in Wisconsin. Rare, solid May weather in Wisconsin. But, man, the Brewers are at the top of my priority list, watching the Brewers and Cubs play these 3 games this weekend. Looking forward to all 3 games, the afternoon games. It's going to be cold down there at Wrigley. But still, the Brewers off to this 19-11 start. The Cubs did win on Wednesday night. Umpire controversy in that game. Whether or not the home plate was blocked by the catcher. It didn't look like it. And whether or not the runner was safe at home plate. Alonso trying to tag up from third base, scoring on a fly ball to left field. And they got him out at home plate. There's no doubt he was out at home plate. The umpires did get that one right, even though the game ended on a replay. And the Cubs win that game, salvage the final game of that series with the Mets. So the Cubs now 19-12. But the Brewers are going to have some suspensions coming up here. We're going to talk about what MLB did. And I was a little stunned. Not at the Uribe suspension, but the Peralta. They just keep adding fuel to the fire on that Peralta thing. We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This podcast brought to you in part by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's winner take all time in the NBA, NHL. FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So you win your bet, new customer, you get $150 in bonus bets. So $150, bet on spreads, money lines, player props. Maybe you want to bet on the Cubs and Brewers coming up on Friday, where the Bucks were getting 8.5 against India. It seemed like they covered every game in that series, but game 2 doing really well. ATS in that series. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. And again, when you log in and you go locked on, FanDuel.com/lockedon, you get $150 in bonus bets into your account with any winning $5 bet. They're America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel. I'm Chuck Freeman. We're coming right back after this timeout here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Again, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple. Download us. Hit us up on YouTube as well. Search Locked On Brewers. And always, please, not only hit the subscribe button, hit the alert so you know when we drop this episode here on Locked On Brewers. All right, the suspensions that were handed out. Ricky Weeks found out, he says, 20 minutes before game time that he was going to be the manager of this game with Pat Murphy serving a suspension. Murphy got a 2-game suspension. Conveniently, he will not be be able to manage Friday in that first game against Ricky Weeks at Wrigley Field. But Peralta and Uribe each got suspensions as well. Now, that I didn't understand with Peralta. Peralta gets the 5-game suspension, hoping he's going to be able to pitch Sunday against the Cubs. Now, and then when they go to a 6-man rotation, the thought is they're going to go to a 6-man rotation after that with no days off next week. So maybe he'll be able to pitch in his next start while serving his suspension. And somebody asked, well, is Peralta given like a 20? I mean, is he suspended for every game he pitches? No, he's suspended even when he doesn't pitch. That counts as a suspension. So it's not like, they have to suspend him 25 games and, every spot in the rotation. So 6 games. And today, he appealed it. So he's hoping to pitch on Sunday against the Cubs, and we'll see what happens there. But, the bottom line is he shouldn't be suspended. Should not have a suspension to his name, because how does Major League Baseball suspend somebody when they're going under the assumption he was throwing at Siri the other day? They're going under the assumption he threw at Siri. Okay. I don't get that at all. So he gets a suspension. Uribe gets a suspension. Uribe also gets sent down to AAA after the game. They sent him down. He had trouble again on the mound. Thank goodness the Brewers had a healthy lead. Could have been a disaster. But Uribe, 6.91 ERA, sending him down to work on a few things. So we'll see what happens there with Uribe getting sent down. And it was about time anyway. We kind of talked about this on the podcast yesterday that, maybe it was about time they sent Uribe down to work on a few things. Young guy, he gets the suspension as well. The slap, shouldn't have done it. Okay. Shouldn't have got himself involved there. And I get defending his guy, Peralta. I get that. I totally get that. But what he did, the suspension probably was justified for Uribe. You understand that. You get it. He shouldn't have taken a swing, and he got fined as well. So Uribe, 6.91 earned run average. And then Murphy, as a result, gets a 2-game suspension as well. Chris Guccione did not, the home plate umpire. This guy, Gooch, I feel, is always looking for trouble. I went back and I did a few things, and it seems like he likes to call little ticky-tack things to draw attention to himself. And he's combative. It's funny because he was very combative in that argument with Murphy on Tuesday night. He was going up and getting Murphy's face, okay? Instead of walking away like an umpire should do, he was going in and challenging Murphy, all right? Yet, if he gets any ramifications out of this, MLB isn't telling us, but they should tell us when an umpire gets called out on the carpet. And there's no doubt Gooch deserved some ramifications, okay? So Murphy gets in his face. Guccione is challenging him and not backing down, and continues to confront the manager when he's supposed to be a leader on that field. And Guccione, he's supposed to restore order back on the field. And Guccione continues to, and he's got a history of this too as well. But, guys like him and Angel Hernandez just keep going on, and there's no, they don't pay any debt for any of their actions. Hernandez continues to miss pitches. Guccione continues to be a jerk and go after managers and do this sort of thing. Yet, you know what? Major League Baseball does nothing to them. They suspend Murphy, who's out there defending his guy. But if you're going to suspend Murphy, okay, Gooch deserves the home plate umpire, the crew chief of that crew chief. Yeah, he acted like a real good crew chief, restoring order in that game. And he's got a history of this too. So I got my eye on that guy moving forward. Just didn't appreciate what he was doing, trying to restore order. He wasn't trying to restore order. No ramifications for that guy. Tyler Black. What's the role for Tyler Black? Some third base, maybe. He's going to get in there, some first base as well, I would think. Again, he's coming up here and got another hit, and Major League Baseball will make an adjustment to him and what he does at the plate, and we'll see what happens in return. But Tyler Black, keep him up here, let him hit, and we'll take it from there until he cools off, if he does ever cool off. But got a sweet swing at the plate, doesn't he? I love that he's up here. Brian Hudson, another great find. Another reason why the Brewers are 19-11. I was talking about Colin Ray a little while ago. Brian Hudson, 17 and a third innings, 19 Ks, a .52 earned run average. Middle relief, coming in and always doing the job. He's been in some big moments. He's gotten out of situations, and he has stabilized things in middle relief. Brian Hudson, huge part of this team. God, I love when he comes in. You feel confident when he comes to the ball game. He's going to get out. But you feel confident. A lot of these guys, maybe not Uribe at this point. It's Bergero. Sometimes you question, but Brian Hudson has been very good coming out of the bullpen. Very, very good. Adames is heating up again, or he's heating up. Somebody asked me tonight, is Adames in the long-term plans of the Milwaukee Brewers? He's not. They've made it quite clear by their inaction that Adames is not part of the future of the Milwaukee Brewers. I wish he was. Now, do I want to pay the guy $25 million a year? No. And I don't think that, Antanasio wants to go there. But if Adames continues to rake, has a big year, fields his position, obviously top notch, he's going to get paid. It is not going to be by the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the Brewers are going to stay in the race, hopefully, so they won't have to trade him. Obviously, if they weren't in the race, they would trade him at the trading deadline. But I believe the Freeman eye test says the Brewers are going to continue doing this. Hopefully, continue to patch things together, get some offensive lift like they did on Wednesday. Terrific pitching 3 days in a row, and stay in this thing. We've reached the beginning of May so far. We're 6 weeks or so into the season, 5-6 weeks of the season, and the Brewers continue to knock down every test, whether it's suspensions, injuries, bullpen. Again, mostly their pitching. We talk about how we worried about how their pitching is going to bounce back. Again, Saturday and Sunday, they have 15 runs in both of those games. And I'm thinking, oh boy, but they come back, 3 solid starts. The bullpen has been fantastic, and they continue to do the job. And the Brewers keep churning along wins. Now a huge series against the Cubs. Go in there and take 2 or 3 on the road against Kansas City next week. And then you got the Cardinals coming in for a first time this year after you swept the Cardinals in a 3-game set a couple of weeks ago. So when we get back, we'll take a look at this Cubs series, the pitching matchups and all that, as the Brewers and Cubs take on a 3-game series at Wrigley Field. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Monopoly Go. We all play Monopoly growing up as a kid. We have 2 games sitting right in our front room here up in the closet. So I love playing Monopoly. As an adult, as a kid, love playing Monopoly. And this Monopoly Go game is pretty cool. Monopoly Go, download it wherever you download, whether it's Google Play or the App Store. Discover Monopoly Go. Unique stickers. You could trade with your friends. You could team up with friends for time tournaments. Work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. You could win more than just fake money with Monopoly Gold. The fake money, it was great when you had all those $500 bills. Monopoly Go will get you some real cash. You have a chance to win. Download it now, free on Google Play, the App Store. That is Monopoly Go. Also, the show is brought to you in part by PrizePicks. Maybe like the Brewers pitching matchup on Sunday, Saturday, Friday, whatever. You team up a couple of different picks with PrizePicks. Download the app right now. Use the promo code LOCKDOWN for your first deposit match up to $100. Take your pick of more or less with your PrizePick entries. You can get on the NBA, choose a couple of players in the NBA, maybe MLB, NHL. You decide. PrizePick has everything. PrizePicks, everything for every sports fan, baseball, basketball, even League of Legends, and everything in between. Pick Shohei. You got it. Maybe you like Rhys Hoskins over and under against a certain pitcher. Take it. Bunch them together. PrizePicks offering weekly promotions, special offers for the biggest moments in sports. So right now, download the app. Use the promo code on PrizePicks. Go to the promo code is LOCKEDONMLB, and your first deposit match is up to $100. Get it right now on PrizePicks. This is Chuck Freeman. We're coming right back here on Locked On Brewers. Welcome back. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. The Brewers have a half a game lead on the Cubs heading into this 3-game set. Somebody asked me on Twitter, and follow me on Twitter, by the way, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND, where I've been voting the Brewers in the Locked On Brewers in the MLB polls, in the power rankings. Right now, I have the Brewers 6th. Going into the week, I had them 6th. I have Atlanta number 1, have the Dodgers number 2, the Phillies are 3rd, the Yankees are 4th, Baltimore 5th, and then Cleveland. And then right behind Cleveland, I have Milwaukee. I have right behind Milwaukee, I have Cleveland. I have Cleveland 7th. I have Milwaukee 6th right now, the 6th best team in baseball. Those other teams I think well deserve. The Phillies might move up this week as from 3rd, maybe a little higher, but right now Atlanta, the Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, Baltimore, and then Milwaukee as the 6th best teams in baseball. Thought you've been tweeting at me. I said earlier today on Twitter, and I said, So the Brewers' Peralta gets suspended for the assumption he threw at a hitter. Murphy gets suspended for defending his guy. Meanwhile, the umpire does not get reprimanded at all for being combative with Murphy. Typical MLBS. No accountability, again, for umpire incompetence. Some of you said, Dan says, I don't understand any of all this. Why a 5-game suspension? For what? Uribe is a suspension, you understand, because he took a swipe at somebody. But Peralta should not be getting a 5-game suspension. The appeal process, hopefully, well, I'm sure he'll get at least 1 day, 1 game melted off of that. Chris says, just like the NBA, the MLB making it easy for me not to watch. Well, and you're talking about the umpires who are making them part, at least their last 4 games, even today. Question Vieira's glove. I mean, I don't get that at all. Some stupid rule involving the 2-colored glove. Didn't understand it. EJ says, umpires union must be the best union on earth. You got it, because none of their guys ever get suspended or fined. At least none that we know about. Deke says, where's Angel Hernandez when you need him? Harley says, hey, Chuck, it's just like Angel Hernandez. MLB does not hold any ML umpires accountable for terrible calls. AJ says, Peralta got suspended for what? And what is Uribe going to get? Well, Uribe got a suspension, as we just talked about here. And Peralta, I agree with you. The Brewers, with this 3-game set with the Cubs, Joe Ross is pitching on Friday afternoon. Got to have one out of Joe Ross, man. Trending downward right now is Ross. He's had 1 good start. His last start this past week against the Yankees, Saturday night, I want to say it was, against the Yankees. That was his worst start so far, okay? And again, we're talking about a guy who is coming back from surgery, and he hasn't pitched since 2001 and won a game since 2001. So I get it. It's not Ross's fault. This is where the shape the Brewers are in right now. They're tossing Ross out there, praying that he's going to go out there and, give him some innings. So it's not his fault at all. This is what the Brewers have. This is the hill that they decided to die on right here when Ross made the rotation, because who else were they going to throw out there? Cubs throwing 3 good pitchers out. I mean, 3 pitchers who are having pretty good years off the decent starts. Wisniewski, Talion, and Assad are the 3 pitchers for the Cubs Friday through Sunday. Ross, Tobias Myers on Saturday afternoon, and then Freddy is hoping to pitch on Sunday before his suspension. He's hoping to pitch on Friday, or he's hoping to pitch on Sunday while his suspension is appealed. So the Brewers in the series, I think the Brewers are the better team than the Cubs. I really do. I was watching a little of the Cubs tonight, struggled a little bit, put up an early run, and they were able to hold on in the end. The Mets threatened in the 8th and 9th inning, but they were able to hold on for the victory. All right, that's going to do it for Locked On Brewers. Again, follow us on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads. And there's some sites out there that I don't even know about where you can download our app or download our podcast and, set your alerts to it and subscribe and all that. We appreciate everybody who subscribes. But wherever you go, we're the number one Brewer podcast because of all you great Brewer fans out there. And of course, go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode. One other thing I want to say. I've been thinking about having a Locked On Brewers meetup somewhere in Milwaukee. I was thinking about having one, a Locked On Brewers meetup. I don't know how it would work. If anybody have any suggestions or where we should have this thing, but I'd like to, it would be my appreciation to you guys out there for coming along and helping us build up Locked On Brewers here. It would be my appreciation to you. I would like to do it. I don't know if we should do it during the All-Star break, if we should do it during a game, a day off, where we should do it. All those things I got to figure out yet. But I would like to have a Locked On Brewers meetup. And yes, the first few beers will be on your boy Freeman here. That would be part of the deal. So, but I'd like to do it, meet all our great people because I follow you all. I read all your comments and all that and interact with you guys and would love to know who's out there and meet you firsthand. I see some of you guys at the ballpark. I meet you, but like to get everybody, all of us in one room because we're all one big Brewers followers family, right? If I said that right. So one big Brewers community, I should say. So let me do some thought. If any of you guys have suggestions, drop me a DM or tweet at me or whatever. Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. So that's in the infant stages of a Locked On Brewers meetup somewhere down the road. All right, that's going to do it. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. All you everydayers, continue to follow us along. And all you new subscribers as well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. So long, everybody.